Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4:41 p.m. Looks like the market is closed and it's just about hitting a previous it's hitting the VWAP actually. Um, it looks like it reacted off a higher time frame supply zone. The move also earlier in the morning. This is a footprint chart. This is a 5-minute chart. If you look at earlier in the morning, it looked like there was a spring that set up, and the spring was around 9:30ish, and this was basically a test of a spring. Demand was created here. If you look at the demand zone, and we see positive delta coming in. Obviously, there was reaction here. Price come back down, and then the confirmation was on this delta bar of a positive delta. But that's just one signal. I used the Nasdaq as a kind of directional criteria. So I was looking at the Nasdaq, and I saw that we had a good night. We had a spring off the VWAP. So this is the standard deviation, the first one, and it did a spring off that, and then we saw this early around say 7 a.m. Then we saw one around 10 a.m. It was holding, and I said, okay, this I see this holding, and I looked at the S&P. We saw a setup, and the setup is using the Weiss wave. Now we have the 1 minute chart. I like to use the 1 minute chart to look for the session volume, in balance, out of balance, breakout, test, etc., etc. This is a 1 minute chart. This is what's happening right now. So around the point of control, you see how it migrated over the top, but it's actually getting weak over there. Around 9 a.m., 7:30 a.m., there was a spring of the previous session. Previous session was balancing out overnight, especially. So as soon as the low, or if we look at the market profile here, we can see that we saw that price wasn't able to move above yesterday's value area low, stayed in the range, and then on this uh, market profile and volume profile, you see that it rejected this area, which was a previous slight demand zone where initiation happened. If you can see it popped from here on this level here. I'll just show you the drawing, and this was this little pop here. This whole area, it's just, if I could draw it here, and that's the price reacted and went all the way up. Now I was waiting to see how price would. It closed near the top of the value area of the overnight session. So what it was telling us that people didn't want to trade near the lows, and it closed right in the. It hit the top of the value area and closed in the range in the value area, but near the high. So it's telling us some bullish momentum. And alongside the spring in the small time frame, telling us around 7 that, oh, this is rejecting lower prices, we want to stay higher. We saw the 9 o'clock, 9:30 open, and as soon as we saw a test of the value area here, and it got rejected. As soon as price got rejected, we saw extension to out of range. As soon as we saw price rejection out of range, we had to start looking for higher prices. The way we knew that there were higher prices coming was the second handle. The second 30-minute candle, we saw it was a higher high and higher low. This was a test here, the third candle. So this was a test of the value area, previous value area is high, or the range. Uh, Once we saw, and also this low volume area, very thin low volume area. So we had an opportunity for a setup to be made, and we can show this by opening up this is an hourly chart of the Nasdaq, but let's show you the 1 minute chart of the S&P. So we saw accumulation on the S&P, and what we did see was this was where is it? I'm sorry, one moment. Okay, this is it. This is where it started. So we have a spring here, and then we have the higher high, and then we have a test of a spring. A classical example of a spring with all of this support. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First we have the uptrend, then we have the spring, then we have we have a higher high, and then we have a test of the spring. Test of the spring with high volume, telling us that there's these passive buyers are holding up this level because there's no follow through here. Look at the volume. There's no volume to the downside. There's no follow through. So we see, and then we see another high. This is basically a confirmation signal here. Then we have another selling wave. But look how it held at the support level. It's climactic. This was climactic, and this was climactic, and this was telling us. But now we have to use the footprint here and the book map. We go to the book map level, and then we just want to confirm what we saw on the book map. So we just want to go to 930. There was definitely a passive level there. Sorry, we had this. I'm just trying to scroll back because of trying to get you to see what we saw. And then initial target was 70. I think 75.68. I have to check again. So this is the 930. There is the spring of the previous level, and that's a test of the spring. And then we saw that the test of the spring, there was offers bids being added here, and then there was support being added right here to the spring. So there was people adding to the bids, and then that's how it moved up. And there was an initial reaction here, and there was another initial reaction here to 64, 68, where it pulled back. That's only because there was a small hourly zone on the higher time frame, and it did come back. And that's the first. This is the first, second, third handle, or almost third handle, where we can get in on the market profile, and that was pullback. But then you see that the bids were added here, giving us a chance. So the context is, you saw out of range, out of range, out of range, out of range, out of bounds momentum on the market profile, telling us that we need to take longs. So that's a small review. Targeting wise, still getting on the targeting side. We have not been able to get to targeting, but we are trying to see how to get that a little better. But we are seeing a lot of imbalances here as well. So the imbalances we did see the imbalances on the smaller time frame. We can use the minute chart, and we have a minute chart here. Let me show you, and we're gonna show you this. This is mostly delta, but we do have. I'm just trying to get to the 930s here. I'm sorry, my charts are a little out of whack today. Unfortunately, I've been using a different software. Unfortunately, my other software crashed and it's giving me a little problem. Okay, almost there. I'm so sorry. This is a lot of data. This is a 1 minute chart. That's why. So this was the pullback that I was talking about on the third handle. And then you can see that price coming back up, but then you see aggressive buying coming in with the negative delta to positive delta change. And then this was the second signal. Though we also had the first signal at 9:30 here, 9:45. We see that there was cells aren't able to get through, and then basically from a negative to positive imbalance. And you see all these imbalance telling us that we need to go in. We have a whole bunch of signals, pullbacks here that we could have taken. The delta is 237 compared to 369. It's for 8 weeks, so this was a continuation trade. Then we get the 10 o'clock pullback. Again, they're the same range, but we have imbalance zones here. So that's telling us as a zone of another entry. The second thing I like to use, and I've been using, is the Weiss wave. So that's like a comparison of, like this is telling me a possible change of behavior, but there's no follow through. So that's telling me passive buying is there. So this is one of a way to get in. And also around 7:30, this level here, there was a spring of this level. There was a higher high, and there was a test here. So this was a actually there was no test. It was just moving all the way up, and then that's the trade for today. Today was a long day. Now it's pulling back on the zone, and the zone is. Let's go to the Nasdaq because I love to use the Nasdaq as correlation. Boom, boom. There it is. This was from earlier in the morning where I had a zone here in hourly time frame. It went near the VWAP high and it reacted. Now it's pulling back to the VWAP. So you had a classical day, you had a trend day today. Now you have a 50% pullback, and there's a zone here. So let's see if it reacts here and then moves back up. Thank you. Hopefully you like the review. Bye.